Welcome into another video. This time we're going to be going over Underdog Fantasy's new best ball game mode. That's the weekly winners, right? So the weekly winners, they have a different type of strategy you need to be taking in order to be successful and ultimately come in with one of those weeks of the grand $20,000. That's what this video is going to do. If you start implementing these strategies into your drafts, you have a higher chance of success rate in actually reaching that ultimate goal. So first thing we're going to do is go over the overview, what it is, what the payouts are, and then I'll have 6 easy steps for you to take, or 6 different strategies to take to help improve your game in your draft and help you ultimately start cashing out for 2023. Let's look over some of the information. So we have the $15 entry fee. There's 261,000 entries that is going to be into this best ball draft. It's 18 rounds and it's 12 teams that you're going to be drafting with each and every time you enter one of these drafts. So we're looking at the starting lineup. It's 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex, just like the regular best ball leagues. This is half point per reception leagues and 4 point per passing touchdown. So looking at the grand prize each and every week you go out there, you're able to win this prize. So if you were at that top prize every single week, that's $20,000 week in and week out you could be bringing home. The ultimate goal is hopefully just cashing in on that at least the 1 week and seeing if you can get a little bit more. But let's just say first prize is 20 grand, and then the payouts are pretty good. Second place 10 grand, third place 9 grand, fourth place 8 grand, fifth place 7 grand, then 6 grand, 5 grand, 4 grand, 3 grand, and then in 10th place you have $2,033. From 11th through 12th place, all of those players will grab $1,000 every week. 21 through 50, we're looking at $450. 51 through 100 at $179, and then we have 101 through 250 is 100. 251 through 500 is $35. 501 through 1,000 is $25, and 1,001 through 7,315 will all cash in $10. So let's go ahead and go over our very first strategy that we need to talk about, and let's go ahead and talk about, let's not get cute. Look, don't get cute and don't reach on these players because, hey, look, I really like so-and-so player. I really want this guy on my team. That should not matter. You need to look at the ADP, look at how things are falling to you, and if you know you really like a player but you might be able to get him a round or 2 later, take those chances, because the ultimate goal of what you want to do is build the absolute best roster you can. And later on in this video you're going to actually see some of these roster constructions. I'm going to be giving you examples of teams you might be able to come away with and be looking for in your draft. So just don't get cute. It doesn't matter if you like the guy or not. You want to maximize ADP, making sure you're looking at ADP and making sure you can see where you can get the values are, because if you can get a guy that you really like around later and still get a guy higher, hey, that's a win in my book. So let's go over to the number 2 strategy. Let's target some juicy divisional matchups. I mean, they play twice a year, so if you can find those good juicy matchups, and I do have a couple of these divisions that we can kind of be targeting at, but we need to really maximize our chance to have those firework type of weeks. That's what you want. And remember, we have to remember every single week, it's almost like you're playing like daily fantasy football here, where you're really only trying to cash out one of these weeks, and then all the other weeks, you know, you can rock and roll with it. But one of those weeks, you're at least going to get all your money back plus some. So that's the goal. We need to get that. So let's go over some of these juicy divisional matchups. So the first one we're going to be talking about here is probably the AFC East, where you have the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Jets. Now, if you can get some of these players from these teams, whether it's like the Bills and the Dolphins, or the Dolphins and the Jets, I think it's going to be absolutely phenomenal for you. An example in the AFC East, I mean, we can look at Josh Allen, maybe even Aaron Rodgers, 2 really good quarterbacks there. Maybe a Breece Hall, James Cook, Damian Harris, Raheem Mostert. Looking at the wide receivers, you got a plethora of those guys. Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Gabe Davis, and Allen Lazard, some of the guys that I really like there. Looking at the tight end spot, you're looking at Dalton Kincaid and even Dawson Knox. So as you can see, some really solid players here. Looking at the AFC North, we're looking at teams like the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Browns. And if you're looking at really those players that are in that division, we've got a lot of good ones in there too. Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, J.K. Dobbins, Jerome Ford. Love the wide receivers here, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Amari Cooper, Odell Beckham, Rashad Bateman, and Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, and David Njoku. So those are the ones I really like in the AFC. Let's move over to the NFC. First NFC division we're going to talk about is the NFC East, and the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Giants are three teams that I really like. Look at some of those players that are in the NFC East. Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, some good quarterbacks there. Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Swift, Kenneth Gainwell. Look at the wide receiver spots, got some really solid ones here as well. A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Devonta Smith, Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, and I do like Isaiah Hodgins for the Giants. At tight end, we're looking at Dallas Goedert and Darren Waller. I mean, now we move over to the NFC North. We're talking about the Vikings, the Lions, and the Bears. Some of these players here, we're talking about Justin Fields, Kirk Cousins, running back position, Alexander Madison, who I really love this year, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Deonta Foreman, wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in the game, DJ Moore now coming over to the Bears, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jordan Addison, Jamison Williams, and Darnell Mooney, some good targets for you. Looking at the tight end position, TJ Hawkinson and Cole Kmet. Moving over to the NFC South, we got the Panthers, the Saints, and the Falcons. Looking at some of these quarterbacks here, Derek Carr, Bryce Young, Bijan Robinson, Miles Sanders, Jamal Williams, Tyler Algier. Wide receivers, Chris Olave, Drake London, Michael Thomas, Jonathan Mingo, Adam Thielen, A.T. Perry, a really good sleeper that I like. You guys are going to hear me on this channel talk a lot about A.T. Perry. At tight end, Kyle Pitts and Jawan Johnson. And the last one is the NFC West with the 49ers, the Seahawks, and into the Rams. We got quarterbacks like Geno Smith and Matthew Stafford. Running backs, Christian McCaffrey, Kenneth Walker, Cam Akers, Zach Charbonnet. Wide receivers, we got Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Van Jefferson, among a lot of others. You know, tight ends, George Kittle, and the Noah Fant. So if you're looking at targeting some of these divisions, I'm sure you'll be excited to know, look, if you can just stay in the division and kind of piece together some of these pieces, at least twice a year, you have a chance of having that game go off. So a lot of teams are liking to, or a lot of players are liking to go into the divisional route and to kind of say, hey, look, if I can stack up a division, get two teams from this division and they're playing each other, that's at least twice a year I have an opportunity of having some success. So that's one strategy that you can take. Let's go over to the next strategy we're going to talk about. We're talking about stacking bye weeks. So bye weeks, some of the ones that I like is week 5. You got the Browns, the Chargers, the Seahawks, and the Bucks. So if you're stacking these bye weeks, there's a lot of them that we like to do. There's some bye weeks that really point out to a lot of people. Mostly week 7 and week 13 are the ones that really stick out, but I like week 5 as well. Week 5 is the Browns, Chargers, Seahawks, and Bucks, like I said. Week 7, Panthers, Bengals, Cowboys, Jets, Titans, and Texans. There's a lot of teams that are on bye week on that week. We got week 9, Broncos, Lions, Jaguars, and 49ers. And week 13, which is a lot of teams that are really wanting to target. That's when we're looking at Ravens, Bills, Bears, Vikings, Giants, and Raiders. So stacking bye weeks can kind of go one of two ways. You can stack bye weeks for as far as getting all those players on that bye week. So week 13, you're only getting players for like the Ravens, the Bills, the Bears, the Giants, the Vikings, and stuff. Like you're only drafting those players. That way, week 13, you're punting that week. You know you're not winning that week, and that's okay because this is like a DFS. There's no, you're not having to advance anywhere, right? So you could do that way, or you can draft players that no one has that bye week in week 13. That way, most teams are going to have, some prime players on these teams in week 7 or week 13. So they're not going to score very high. They're kind of punting that week, but you're on the flip side trying to actually target that week. So that way you have a full roster going in on week 7 or week 13, week 5 or week 9. You have a full roster playing, and then it gives you a maximum opportunity to actually win that week. So one of two ways you can kind of flip-flop the bye weeks, whether or not you want to go all in on the bye week or stay away from the bye week. Either way you go is a good, valid opportunity for you to score into the top 7,000 and score you some keys on those days. So let's go over to the next strategy. Let's talk about picking a single game to stack. And again, like I was telling you guys, more likely you're really looking for one win. Right? That's what we really want. We want one win. We want to win the $20,000 once We don't necessarily need to win $20,000 10 to 15 times, which we would love to do, but let's just be honest with ourselves. You're probably not going to do that. So we got to take some strategies in order to try to hone in and find these matchups that you can do. So maybe if you target one single game in a single week, whether it's week 7 or week 13, I've picked out some matchups for you guys that we can really kind of target. And whether it's in week 7 or week 13, hopefully it becomes a boom game, which only maximizes your opportunities to winning some cash. Let's start over with week 7. We're going with the Lions and the Ravens. So if you look at the Lions and the Ravens, a team that you might be able to put together would be Lamar Jackson at quarterback, Jahmyr Gibbs and J.K. Dobbins, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Odell Beckham, Zay Flowers, and Mark Andrews. Now, in the first round, you might be able to land Amon-Ra St. Brown, come over in the second round, grab Lamar Jackson, and then maybe in the third round be able to have Mark Andrews slip to you to early in that third round, and then you're able to fill out for the rest of your roster all the other pieces of this matchup. So go over to the next matchup. Let's talk about the Chargers and the Chiefs. And one of the lineups you might be able to put out there is maybe Justin Herbert at quarterback, getting Austin Eckler there in the first round, Isaiah Pacheco, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Kadarius Toney, and Travis Kelce. Now, in this would have to be almost a perfect storm for you, because Travis Kelce is most likely going in the top 3 picks. So you have to take Travis Kelce and then coming on in that second round, grabbing that Austin Eckler, and then maybe trying to grab your pieces in the Keenan Allen and the Mike Williams route. But that's going to be kind of a more of a tricky type of lineup, but this is definitely doable. I've seen people actually make a lineup like this, and it's something that I think you can strive for, and I think could be very, very successful in this type of tournament. So looking at the next team, we're talking about the Dolphins and the Eagles. Some team that you can probably look forward to is maybe a Jalen Hurts, DeAndre Swift, Raheem Mostert, Tyreek Hill, Devonta Smith, Braxton Berrios, and Dallas Goedert. You're going to have to grab Tyreek Hill most likely in the first round, and then maybe in the second round, maybe get somebody like a Jalen Hurts and then Devonta Smith in the third. You can definitely make this team happen, but I think this would be a great matchup to target, somebody that you probably might be winning some money on. So I absolutely love this lineup. Let's go over to the next lineup here in week 7. Let's talk about the 49ers and the Vikings. A team that you might be able to put together and play with is you have Kirk Cousins at quarterback, Christian McCaffrey, obviously going to have to be your first round pick, and Alexander Madison, a sleeper that I talk about on this channel quite a bit. Deebo Samuel, Jordan Addison, KJ Osborne, and TJ Hawkinson at tight end. I think this team is very, very feasible. I think it's very easy to actually achieve. And I think it's somebody that can score a lot of points for you. I love the 49ers and the Vikings matchup. I think it can bode well for you for fantasy points. And another sleeper game that I'm going to give you guys in week 7 is going to be the Jaguars and the Saints. Looking at a team you might be able to put together. Look at Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, Travis Etienne, Jamal Williams. I think those are going to be stud running backs for the most part. Wide receiver, Chris Olave, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk. Great little trio you have there. And then Jawan Johnson at the tight end spot. So now we got to move on to week 13. Let me show you some matchups you might be able to target in week 13. So the first matchup we're going to talk about here is the Seahawks and the Cowboys. Looking at some type of lineup you might be able to put together here. Dak Prescott at the quarterback spot. Kenneth Walker, Tony Pollard at the running back spot. CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, Brandon Cooks at the wide receiver, and Noah Fant at the tight end. I think this could be a premier matchup, a good shootout type of matchup. A lot of offensive fireworks going on. Could definitely bode you well for possibly getting some money for week 13. Moving on to the next matchup, we can sit here and talk about the Saints and the Lions. A good team you might be able to roster here. Let's say Derek Carr, Jahmyr Gibbs and Jamal Williams, Chris Olave, and Amon-Ra St. Brown going to be at your 1-2 picks right there. Jameson Williams and Jawan Johnson. These two teams could be sleeper teams for offense. I think that they could produce some points for you, and you never know. You could have a 35 to 45 type of score with these two types of offenses. So somebody you might want to look at. Another team that in the another game in the week 13 you might want to look at here is going to be the Panthers and the Bucks. And we're talking about maybe even Bryce Young at quarterback. Let's see Miles Sanders, Rashad White at running back, Chris Godwin, Mike Edwards, Jonathan Mingo, and then maybe Hayden Hurst at the tight end spot. These are one of those teams that you can say, look, you're not using a lot of high picks. The highest pick that you have here might be either Chris Godwin or Miles Sanders might be your highest one. So you not only are you having this game stacked, but you're also able to have a lot more first, second, third, fourth, fifth round players that you can plug into your lineup above this matchup as well. well. So I'm not saying in the first, second, third, and fourth round you're targeting these players in this game, but this is just a stack you can think about for the middle to late rounds. Grab these guys as you go and fill in the roster as you go, as you grab the top guys in this draft. I mean, you can still have your Travis Kelce's, maybe even your Patrick Mahomes's and your CeeDee Lambs and all these other guys you can probably get. But I'm saying if you have the Panthers Buck stack in there along with all the other elite options, it just gives you even more opportunity to really score and to rock and roll and maybe hopefully land you some cash. Let's go over to the next matchup. Let's talk about the Bengals and the Jaguars. A lineup you might be able to put out there is Joe Burrow, Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Calvin Ridley, and Irv Smith. I think this could be another fireworks shootout type of matchup. I think it would be very, very good if you got these type of players in your lineup. You're going to use a lot of high picks to get these guys, but it is feasible and able to go. I've seen people drop even T. Higgins in the middle of the third round, which is absolutely phenomenal value in my opinion. And the last team I want to talk about here, if we're talking about single game stacks, is going to be the 49ers and the Eagles team. You might be looking at Jalen Hurts, DeAndre Swift, Elijah Mitchell, Devonta Smith, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and Dallas Goedert. So if you can see some of these games, if you want to stack, you can have a really good chance to succeed, especially if you're targeting those week 7 and week 13 bye weeks. A lot of people are doing that, and you want to look at these specific matchups to see if it can give you an opportunity to really win some of this cash. And these matchups, I believe, that I picked out are really, really top of the cream of the crop type of matchups that you can really target to help you achieve those goals. So let's move on over to number 5, and we're going to talk about roster construction. Now, roster construction, it's a little bit different, right? So I would recommend you going 1 quarterback, 2 to 3 running backs, 13 to 14 wide receivers, and 1 tight end. Only draft 1 quarterback and 1 tight end if they have the same bye week. We have to remember, you don't want to punt 2 weeks. You just want to punt 1 week. So just because you have 1 quarterback and 1 tight end, if 1 quarterback has a bye week 7, 1 tight end has a bye week 13, then in week 7 you don't have a quarterback, and week 13 you don't have a tight end. So the one thing I like to do, which brings us into our last strategy, is I want to talk about some of these elite quarterback tight end stacks. And if you're able to secure one of the quarterback tight end stacks that I have here on my list, number 1, there's only going to be 1 week that you're punting because you won't have a quarterback or tight end. Every other week for that season, you're going to have a quarterback and tight end, and then all your other pieces for running backs and wide receivers can plug in when they have bye weeks. So look at some of these elite quarterback tight end combos that I have for you. Number 1, we don't have to wait long, but we already know it's the Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce stack. You can't go wrong with this stack. It's the best stack in fantasy football. If you can grab Travis Kelce and maybe your 3rd pick in the draft, come back around in the 2nd round, grab Patrick Mahomes, you're going to be absolutely elated that you have an opportunity each and every week to score some cash. The next team I want to talk about here is Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews. I think this is the 2nd best stack, quarterback tight end stack that you can have for this tournament. I think Lamar Jackson really targets Mark Andrews quite a bit. So somebody you can definitely look at to target in your lineups. And I know you can probably get a good 1st round pick. Grab Lamar Jackson with your 2nd round pick and Mark Andrews with your 3rd pick, or vice versa, because Jackson and Mark Andrews have really close ADP. So the next stack, I would say my number 3 stack would be Jalen Hurts and Dallas Goedert. Jalen Hurts, he's a very mobile quarterback. He's going to give you a lot of points himself. Dallas Goedert, he's somebody that he's a red zone type of guy, and he's got a good secure hands on him. So somebody that I think that they can't put a lot of attention to because you have AJ Brown and Devonta Smith on the outside. So it just means it's a very good matchup for him. Looking at my next quarterback tight end combo, we're going to talk about Trevor Lawrence and Evan Ingram. They really showed out last year in their 1st year together. Evan Ingram is back with the offense. Trevor Lawrence is getting better and better every single season. And I think it's going to show us have an opportunity to even grow even more with Calvin Ridley in there. And I think Evan Ingram, he's going to be kind of undershadowed a little bit. Not a lot of teams are going to be really thinking about this guy and can really put up some fantasy points for you. The next team I'm going to go against is Joe Burrow and Irv Smith Jr. Now, this does come with a caveat. Irv Smith does have a problem with staying healthy. So as long as he can stay healthy, I'm happy with the production that he's going to be able to give you. So going on to our next one, we have Kirk Cousins and TJ Hawkinson. Since Hawkinson came over from the Lions, he has been a really good fit for this Vikings offense, and Kirk Cousins looks for him early and often. So it's a combination that you can have. If you have on your squad, you're very, very happy that you have this combo. So the next one I have is Deshaun Watson and David Njoku. Now, Njoku is a definite sleeper in my opinion. I think Deshaun Watson is going to get his belt under. He hadn't played in quite a while. That's why he looked really awful last year. But I think with now an offseason under his belt and a lot of the problems he has behind him, I think you're going to see him really shine back to what he was when he was first into the NFL. Now with David Njoku, he's a freak athlete, and he's going to show you why he is. So he's definitely a sleeper. I think this combo would be very good for you in this tournament, and a very cheap option to go if you end up with Watson and Njoku. Next combo I have here is going to be Herbert and Gerald Everett. I think Justin Herbert is a phenomenal passer. I mean, he can throw the ball all over the field. Gerald Everett, not somebody that I would necessarily want to target. But if you're looking for a combo and you end up getting Herbert as your quarterback, I would grab Gerald Everett. You can do a lot worse. But I think he can still give you a nice solid floor for the most case, and somebody that you could definitely target in one of these drafts. So next we're going to go over with Daniel Jones and Darren Waller. Waller's coming over here from the Raiders. I think this could be a combo that you can look at, could develop in quite nicely. If Waller can do anything like what he did with Derek Carr, you're going to be very, very happy that you picked Daniel Jones, because not only if you're stacking these Giants, Jones, all his receivers are going pretty much at the end of the draft. Maybe even grab a Saquon Barkley, and boom, you got the whole offense for the Giants. Not very sexy to say that, but it's an option if you want to go into that route and have a nice little cheap option at the wide receiver, or at the quarterback and tight end spot. The next team that I want to talk about here is Derek Carr and Juwan Johnson. I think this is going to surprise a lot of people. Derek Carr, we saw what he can do with Darren Waller, and Juwan Johnson's just as talented as Darren Waller. I think he's got the hands, the speed, he's got the red zone target ability. I think Derek Carr and Juwan Johnson can show to be very valuable in these type of tournaments, as you can get them both extremely cheap, so you can do a lot of other stacks. Load up your wide receivers, load up your running backs, and end up with Derek Carr and Juwan Johnson at the end of the draft. Maybe even get a Chris Olave in the first or second round of your draft. You're going to be solid. So looking at the next team right here, we're going to talk about Russell Wilson and Greg Dulcich. Now, I think Dulcich is going to be an amazing tight end this season. I'm hoping Russell Wilson can keep his job now that Sean Payton's there. He needs to really button up his shirt there, because he's got to cross his T's and dot his I's, or Wilson will not be the quarterback. They're going to go with Jarrett Stidham. So as of right now, I think Wilson and Dulcich together, I think would be a really good combination. We're going to see Dulcich really come out of his skin and become a solid fantasy tight end for you and for this tournament. So the next one we have here is Josh Allen and the rookie Dalton Kincaid. I think Kincaid's going to play primarily out of the slot. I think he's going to be a really good pass catching option other than Stephon Diggs. I think he's going to force feed Stephon Diggs, but they need another wide receiver. Gabe Davis just isn't it. That's going to be Dalton Kincaid. I think he's going to be a lot more intermediate to middle routes. You should be able to get a decent type of floor with the rookie tight end. I think I do like Allen and Kincaid quite a bit in 2023. So looking at the next combo here, we're going with another rookie quarterback in Bryce Young and Hayden Hurst. I think the rookie quarterbacks have to have a safety blanket. A lot of times those safety blankets are the tight end spot, and Hayden Hurst was very good. He did really good coming out of college. He did good early on in his career, did really good with Joe Burrow last season. So coming over here, I think Hayden Hurst has a good opportunity to get a lot of targets. There's no tight end to compete with him. So if you have Young and Hurst as your combination, maybe even grab a Jonathan Mingo at wide receiver, you have got a decent synergy right there, and that's a good quarterback tight end combo. You can get really, really late. Hayden Hurst going nearly almost the last round of the drafts, and so is Bryce Young. So in the last combo that I have for quarterback and tight end, we're gonna go with Richardson, the rookie Anthony Richardson, and Jelani Woods. These two people are freaks of nature. I think these two can match up really, really easily. I think they have both the height to get it done in the red zone. They're going to be looking for each other early and often. I think Woods is definitely a sleeper tight end as long as he can get his hamstring issues underway. But as soon as AR gets on the field, he should be looking Anthony Woods way early and often. Now, I hope you guys found all 6 of these strategy tips helpful, and I hope that you're able to use those in your upcoming drafts, and ultimately, hopefully, at least one of those weeks lands you $20,000. And if it does, I want you to come back here next season on this video in the comment section and say, hey, you helped me win $20,000. That would be absolutely amazing. But hey, we're dropping videos almost 2 to 3 times a week. all the way throughout the offseason, getting you better prepared to not only win all of your drafts that you're doing on Underdog Fantasy, but also your fantasy football leagues. So whatever I can do to let me know, just let me know. I can help you out. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Can't wait to see you guys on the next video. We'll see you guys next time.